Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go watch a movie with PJ. Lord, and he's always glad you came. You wanna be where you could see our troubles are all the same. You wanna go and watch a movie with PJ.
You know, one of these days, I'm honestly probably just going to be like, we're just going to do a Cheers watch along, because every time that we play this, it just makes me want to watch Cheers. Happy Monday, everybody. I'm your host, PJ Campbell. I hope everyone is doing well during the quarantine. It's day 111th, I believe, of what has been one of the most interesting years we've ever all lived through together. And I am really happy today to be like, we're here to talk about a movie that I think gets overlooked all the time, and that is Steven Spielberg's The Adventures of TinTin. This was like a Hail Mary last-minute sort of revelation that we were even going to be doing this, because we stupidly forgot to put up a poll last week. That was on Evan and I. We had shit going on, and I apologize. Things happened, you know, and Evan's giving me the finger right now. It's fine. He's off camera. Things happen, but we're really excited because I was like, it's summer season. That means we need to do a summer film, and what more summer film is there when it comes to big blockbuster animation than The Adventures of Tintin? Like, this is one of the great adventure films and easily top tier Spielberg for me. So I'm very excited to go on this grand adventure with a bunch of people that I like very, very much, including the aforementioned Evan Degraff. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Look, honestly, what happened on Friday might be the best thing that has ever happened to us due to something we might announce at the end of tonight.
We got a lot going on. We have a lot to announce tonight.
I know, and I'm very excited about what happens for the next month of animated watch-alongs. That's all I'm gonna say. And
I mean, starting with next Monday, which I'm freaking stoked about.
I've never seen I've never seen that either.
Well, we might as well just fucking say it. So next Monday, we are going to be doing Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Thank you, Evan, for spoiling that up front. But that is what's happening. I'm super excited about that.
You know, the worst part is I barely even started drinking too.
I know.
But we're gonna have just a couple of things like rundown. Tomorrow, Jonathan Youngblood really thought we were recording tonight, but no, we're recording tomorrow. We're going live. I think we're gonna be a bit like an hour later, so. Just because he's on Central Coast time, and I guess T-Mobile has him working super late, so frick T-Mobile. But I'm doing a famous last words with community leader Jonathan Youngblood. He helped shape and form the community that was Movie Talk by Movie Fans. Whatever you think about that community and what it represents is a different conversation, but he's one of the greatest people I know. Really takes his time and like takes a look back and actually like figures out how you can help form and rebuild a community, especially when it's down from its steps. I really, really recommend listening to this. This could be like one of the most insightful community-based podcasts I'm going to have in a while, just because he brings so much to the table. And on Wednesday, we did the top 10 villain songs in film. That was chaotic in itself, but talk about chaotic people. R&B is joining Kristen Smith and Chris Clark on Singing in the Rain Suddenly soundtracks, and that's going to be really exciting because R&B's been on a tear recently, man. Doing some things. He's slowly becoming my favorite manager, but Finstock still exists. Anyways,
also, I've heard some crazy stuff about this episode. Chris has not stopped talking about it ever since they recorded it, so that's a good sign.
He hasn't said shit to me, so I'm gonna have a conversation with Chris about that. And then anything dropping Thursday that's not here, PJ?
Oh shoot, it's not in there. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go ahead and bring our guest on to talk about that, and that is our boy Maxwell Haddad. And Max and I actually have the first episode of our very first Broadway podcast on Thursday. Max, you want to take him through?
Yeah, I'm super excited. So we're launching a brand new show called Front Center Mezzanine because that's the best seat in the house. We're gonna pull back the curtain and reveal some of the secrets of theater and Broadway. We're going to talk to people in the industry. There may be some episodes where we highlight a favorite show of ours, but For our inaugural episode, I'm very excited. We have as a guest Preston Max Allen, an incredibly talented young composer who wrote the off-Broadway musical We Are the Tigers, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's a cheerleader slasher musical. He's also written a bunch of other fun stuff. He has stuff in the works. So diving into him, talking about his inspiration, his process, his history growing up, just sort of a full breadth of his experience and his insights is going to be really, really exciting. I hope you'll join us live Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the PJ Campbell Network.
1 second as we pull it up. I'm super excited about this. And
overtly professional. Wow.
It was because Max is overly professional. This was not it. This is it right here. There it is. Look how beautiful that is. I like that Chris even put on the graphic right here. It's 3 seats because there will be 3 of us on the show at all times. I thought that was just like a very nice touch. So thank you, Chris, for that.
What else we got? And last but not least, before we bring in whoever that is, that's gonna come in soon. I don't know who that person is. It always shows up. Always a different guy. We're doing a nice out. Oh no, that's the wrong one. We're doing a Star Wars Last Jedi watch along come Friday. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. As some of you guys know, I'm doing a Star Wars rewatch, and I'm starting to see the vision, like a grander vision of what Star Wars is through all of this. I'm on Sith right now, and I'm really excited because I know Rian Johnson does a really good job talking about the Force, kind of what it represents, and even things past the Force, and just the idea of hope. So I'm really excited to actually sit down and watch this with you guys.
I'm super excited too. I love The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I don't think I'm going to be there on Friday because I'm not sure I want to dive into that particular pool with you guys.
I don't blame you.
I personally think The Last Jedi is the second best of all the Star Wars movies. I think it's brilliant and subversive and beautiful and poetic. And I think that Rian Johnson understands the Force and Star Wars storytelling in a way that some people don't appreciate it. And that's fine because everyone is, of course, entitled to their own viewpoint. I'm just personally a big fan. And I sort of feel like in 20 years, some of the perspective will have shifted, as is so often the case with films that come out that are perhaps a little more controversial and not quite down the middle.
Well, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited and also terrified, but it should be good because I think we've always had some pretty good people in the chat. So yeah,
I'll watch from the sidelines.
I'm okay with that. Mike's like you might need moderating.
Hey, that's a good thing because that means we have a guest that we've yet to announce. That's probably going to be on that day then.
Yeah, so that's okay. But of course, we have one last person. Our favorite Canadian, Pat Hogue. Hello, sir. Why are you godfathering us right now?
You want to steal my treasure, Tintin? I've spent all this time looking for it, and now here you are to take my treasure.
No, my treasure's right here, actually. As the resident Tintin fan here,
actual Tintins of Tintins.
PJ, I've told you that's not Pat Hogue. Every single time they come out, it's not Hogue. It's someone else.
Not the only one with Tintin paraphernalia, my good sir.
Evan, your critique of me needs to end at the moment. They have some Tintins of Tintins to show.
Yeah, because some of us here grew up with Tintin. So
Indeed.
I'm super excited.
In fact, when I was a kid, my parents used to buy me the Tintin comics in both English and French as a way of trying to get me to teach French. Learn French.
Gosh.
I mostly read the English ones, but I had them in French.
Yeah. As somebody has no exposure really to this IP, I've seen this film once. I enjoyed it at the time. Really haven't thought about it since, and this is just kind of a movie I'm going in with really no expectation, which makes me more excited because apparently like you guys have way more history and backstory with it than I ever will, so I'm kind of interested to see how this is going to go.
I also think that this movie, like, not just speaking of what it does, I think as a fan of the comic, I think it does a wonderful job. But more importantly, I also think technologically it's like a marvel of a film. I think the motion capture mixed with the animation is just such a beautiful thing. It's got arguably one of the greatest wonders of all time in any film.
Yes, it does.
And I'm just excited to sit down and watch this because, like I said up top when we were talking about this, is that the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that we're going to sit here watching this and just like really getting to enjoy what I think is one of the great blockbuster animated films of all time. Like, animated films don't normally get to be like big blockbustery adventure films, and this one really is.
It's also the first Spielberg we get to do for a watch along, so it kind of there feels like this kind of totemic, aspect to that of the kind of quintessential filmmaker of our time
Right.
We get to start like the lineage with one of his kind of lesser known films that people respected and understood, but kind of got swept under the rug at the time. And I'm excited for myself to have this moment of reevaluation to see how it fits into not only pop culture, but this guy who's been known to kind of tap into pop culture and really give a film that we can all appreciate and enjoy. So this will be a fun one.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and I just can't really wait to talk about it. And real quick, Evan, do we have a Streamlabs?
We actually do. You guys, it's going to be at, I don't have the link. You have the link. But if you guys want to type it in, it's at streamlabs.com/the PJ Campbell Network. If you guys would like to donate, feel free to. I know everyone's in a little tight for money right now due to obvious reasons, but if you want to, I'll read your donation out loud. I'll do it in any voice you want, for better or worse. I'll even have Hogue do the voice because he's better at it than I am. We'll read it out. We'll answer your questions, whatever. We appreciate anything or even nothing because I just like the community here that we've built.
If you want a Cockney accent, I'll read it in that, and it won't be offensive at all.
All right,
make sure you put tuppence in the StreamYards for us, and then we'll be good for tomorrow.
Toppings.
I love all of you so much, and just I just want to thank everyone again for all the support that you guys have showed us since we started the network. And every week, I mean, this is our 20th watch along since quarantine started. Woo! Just to put shit into perspective. Like, that's how long we've been doing this.
No, you know what's crazy about that? Not to like hold off the watch along anymore. That's the most I've watched movies in a long time. Just school gets in the way and you don't have time.
Sure.
For as much film watching, but like that's a lot of movies I've watched.
2 movies a week is big record for me. So let's keep it going.
I've been watching like 4 movies a day in quarantine because what else am I gonna do?
I'm with Max on this one. Like, I mean, I also write for a movie trivia show, so it's like
you do.
Job. So I actually have to watch these things, and that's one of the things I do. But I am just super excited. I hope the rest of the chat is excited. I adore this movie, and I can't wait to watch it with you guys. So without further ado, what we're going to do, we're going to count down. This is on Netflix if you guys don't own it, so you can legitimately pull it up on Netflix. We have it queued up at 00. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. As soon as I say go, we're going to hit play, and we're going to watch the movie with you guys, and we're going to just commentate it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice 2 hours together, and I can't wait to do this. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Awesome.
I've never seen it, but I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
This is so much fun. All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
Oh, it's loading. Shit.
You're good. Because mine did a little bit too. It buffered a little bit, but we should be fine. Man, I miss Paramount doing stuff. Paramount is in desperate need of being better.
That's true. PJ, some live production thought. Something I've thought about. So we should probably explain how the watch-alongs work before we actually do it right beforehand.
Probably, but
we should be like, hey guys, the movie is here if you guys want to watch it.
I forgot that Columbia was a part of this too.
But Sony Pictures be everywhere sometimes.
Mm-hmm. They have to be, understandably so. And of course, Nickelodeon.
Is there any sound right now?
I don't have any, no.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. I was freaking out. I'm like, why do I have no sound?
And Amblin, but of course.
I mean, of course.
Whenever the Amblin logo plays before a movie, I get tingly.
Yeah, I miss that old Amblin logo. We don't see it very often in front of
also,
movies.
Talking about Nickelodeon, I'm doing my rewatch. I never actually consciously remember watching the show. It's just a part of my life.
Okay,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's amazing, but you've got to, dude, just enjoy this opening montage. This is one of my favorite opening credit sequences. I think it just so brilliantly sets up everything that this movie is going to be.
It feels very Catch Me
If You Can is exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, the score and the animate. Yep.
Yeah. It's got a very noir feel, and you're kind of seeing all the characters up front, which is kind of fun.
What's the dog's name?
Snowy.
All right. Cute. I'm into it. And Jamie Bell as Tintin. He has a very interesting career. Mm-hmm. He always feels like he's on the tangential of Hollywood stardom, but any project he's a part of doesn't seem to click or be there in the way that
I thought he was fantastic in Rocket Man.
I did too.
He's great in Rocket Man.
Andy Serkis.
Daniel
Rocket Man might be the best movie of last year. That's the T.
Nick Frost and Simon Pegg, which is brilliant casting.
Yeah, they are incredible in this movie.
Wait, why is this cast so stacked?
Toby Jones, who's
Because-
always great.
So Steven Spielberg directed this, but it is also produced by Peter Jackson.
Mhm.
And he was supposed to do the sequel, but he got caught up with The Hobbit, and that's why we haven't seen one yet. And Edgar Wright wrote this movie with a Tax the Block filmmaker.
It's also the weird kind of
Joe
situation.
Cornish. Joe
Yeah,
Cornish
Joe
co-wrote
Cornish.
this. Awesome.
Steven Spielberg released this the same weekend as War Horse, thinking that they'd, find different audiences and split it. And they kind of just split the box office. It really didn't benefit either film. And so
It's
this
the
film
second time
especially
that kind of happened to him too.
what was the other time with Jurassic World or Jurassic
yeah.
Park?
He's had a few years where he's done 2 movies. In '93, he had Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. He had Minority Report and Catch Me If You Can, were both in 2002.
He also did Lost World and Amistad in the same year, and that really didn't work out in the way that he was hoping it would.
Jonathan says, to be fair, that Sonic the Hedgehog did well for Paramount, better than people are giving it credit for. Yeah, I agree. But Paramount, for me at least, used to be like one of the leading studios. And now it's just every time I turn around, it feels like they faltered in another way.
Oh, and can we just note, also produced by the illustrious Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
Somebody who's only made decisions and nothing bad.
Can we also know Paramount once had one of the best theme parks of all time, King's Dominion in Dawswell, Virginia.
They also had...
Stephen Moffat wrote it too. Oh, fascinating.
I forgot that Moffat wrote
Joe
this.
Cornish.
Yeah. Moffat, of course, for those who don't know, did quite a few seasons of Doctor Who. In my opinion, some of the best Doctor Who.
And Sherlock.
And
Sherlock.
of course.
And didn't he do the new Dracula?
Yes.
PJ, why didn't you tell me what I was in for? I am stoked.
I tried to tell you this.
You did not tell me Edgar Wright wrote this. Peter Jackson produced it.
I mean, I thought you knew.
It already feels like that they figured out how to get past the uncanny valley.
It really
Yeah. Well, they did a combination of mocap and actual animation. It was like a perfect blend to kill the issue with the eyes and textures that something like Zemeckis had with Beowulf or Polar Express.
Yeah.
Polar Express is a staple in society.
And that's the thing.
Don't get me wrong.
Robert Zemeckis really with all those kind of stop motion films really kind of had to kind of build the plane in midair while they were flying and filming to get this technology to work. And then these filmmakers,
it's just perfect.
Kind of get to run with it.
Showing the original animation.
I love it. I think it's such a great touch for people who are familiar with the property.
See, look at that. That's what he looked like.
Guys, what a fucking analogy over there by Hogue, though. Building a plane in midair.
I didn't invent it. I've heard it before. I'm a plagiarist.
It's almost like he writes films or something like that.
I just love them so much.
I liked on the newspaper, one had a push broom mustache and the other had a toilet plunger mustache.
That's something that's really hard to pull off in animation is mirrors. That's really impressive.
I must say, this is 9 years old already, and the animation is still absolutely stunning.
It honestly looks brand new to me still. Like, I think that this movie is going to stand the test of time for that alone.
Well, in all fairness, not towards this movie, but to the point of animation right now, you either have narrative pushing animation where it is always pushing, or you have animation that just is not great. Like there's no middle animation right now.
You're not wrong.
It's a problem in Hollywood.
Look at Scoob.
Was the animation not good in it? I didn't watch it.
I thought it was all right. I thought that it had some cute designs, but I felt like the world felt really empty, and I thought the animation could have been better, personally speaking.
I wonder if that film could have done something good with like Spider-Verse-esque animation.
I think it could have been better.
So what I think hurt this film, especially that it came out with the subtitle "The Secret of the Unicorn," which I think made it feel a little bit too serialized, which is the format of the original comic and of this movie. But I think if they just kind of formatted it as The Adventures of TinTin, people would find this as a cleaner entry point. But I remember Secret of the Unicorn always bugging me during the marketing of is this coming into the middle of a franchise?
Well, I think there's also something to be said about the fact that, at least for me, I grew up on it, but it's not very well known here. Even out of the 4 of us sitting here, 2 of us only knew what it is. That means at least in our little pool, you're batting 50% at that point, right?
It's
That's
also
great.
Interesting to note, it won the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature, but was not nominated for the Oscar.
Does the seller look like Steven Spielberg to anybody
Absolutely.
else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure does.
It probably is.
Well, that's Daniel Craig, by the way.
Yeah.
It received 1 Oscar nomination, and that was for John Williams.
Yep, of course, because John Williams scores almost always get.
He could write a score for My Trip to the Bathroom, and he'd get an Oscar nomination.
The colors really pop in this movie.
Yeah. Daniel Craig has such a great voice for a villain. I mean, we know him as Bond, but it's just the perfect villain voice.
Excuse me, we know him as Benoit Blanc.
That's fair.
Or in Logan Lucky.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
He's really
Logan Lucky.
I would argue more so than some of the more other recenter Bonds. He's had a great career doing interesting things and not being shoehorned by Bond.
I think he's tried really hard.
In the 90s, Pierce Brosnan was shoehorned by Bond.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig definitely fits into that. If he is attracted to a really fun and important director, he will give them it all. But if you're kind of putting him as just the generic lead, he'll be the generic lead.
Yeah, Sean Connery had other good projects in his Bond years, but I'd argue it wasn't until after Bond that he really started doing more interesting, fun stuff.
And it's funny to even think of Henry Cavill, who was so close to being Bond, is definitely always looking for something outside of Superman to franchises nowadays, actors inside that are trying so hard to diversify themselves to make sure that they're not stuck into that pigeonhole.
You know what's
really weird question?
I love this sequence
Go
you're
ahead,
setting up the other cases or mysteries or adventures Tintin has been on.
Yeah.
Really weird question. Do you think they used motion blurring on this?
I don't know.
I think
is it
so.
60 frames per second, and is that what I'm seeing?
Well, they're definitely playing with depth of field, which you have to manually set for animation. So I think Spielberg, especially for the wonders, if you're going to hide kind of the movements, you have to put motion blurring so that you don't see the construction of how they're doing a camera move.
I just want to make sure I'm not an idiot. That's all.
I just bought this for 20 quid.
I just really appreciate that Spielberg, even for how old he has, he's gotten so much older, but he always loves to look at technology to see what he can do next. And this movie really proved that he could play with new technology in the right way, because he's always pushed it. But I think he's always been one of the leading innovators of using it where it really benefits the story, not doing it just to do it like some other filmmakers might. And
there's something that happened in the post that was really dope that I forget now, but I remember seeing it while I was watching. Wait, that was a really cool effect.
Well, but you see him really experimenting with the technology he's going to work with in Ready Player One.
Yeah,
which is
amazing here too, and other animated films have it, is the cinematography, and by that I mean the lighting and the shadows. I don't know who might have helped out with that.
It's probably his boy Janisch, who works on all of his shoots all his films.
I'm trying
to look it up.
Oh, wait, talk about Ready Player One. I froze. I meant to point this out though. I have that poster. It's cute.
I know Roger Deakins consulted on the final How to Train Your Dragon.
Right.
And How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Well,
I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, you can tell this guy.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to point out, though, too, is that when you look at this film, and everyone thought that when they announced that he was doing Ready Player One that he couldn't do blockbusters anymore, and I was like, it really wasn't that long ago that he had made Tintin. I didn't know why everyone was freaking out. He clearly could still do a blockbuster film.
And Ready Player One is okay.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna fight people because I know some people love that film, but I thought it was very, very good.
Ready Player One, I don't want to harp on it, gave me the same theater experience that Avatar did. Avatar was my first big theater experience, but it gave me that same feeling.
I never saw Avatar in theaters. That was a huge regret of mine.
That's how I feel about 1917.
Just look at the way the camera moves in this film. I think it's in a way that many other animated films don't, and that's not a knock on those films.
No.
Other animated films have a more stagnant aesthetic,
but it feels like a motion picture. And that's not a dig. I think animation's amazing, but I think Max is right. Like, it feels like a live action film almost.
But I will say this film does very much start in media res in a way.
We've seen the scene in The Joker.
Like, it very much feels like you kind of just have to accept a lot of things. This guy is a previous adventurer. He got a thing. It starts an adventure. Like, it is pulling the Indiana Jones move of just the charisma of this guy has to like convince you that we're just going to go with him on this adventure. And he's just kind of a soft-spoken little like, yeah, let's just do a thing, as opposed to Harrison Ford, who's a gruff, like, charismatic guy.
So it's like if you put me in a movie. Got it.
yeah, PJ, I got you.
Mike K says Deakins was a consultant on all 3 How to Train Your Dragons.
That makes sense. I'm there for it too. Those movies are great.
I think those are some of the best animated films of all time. Again, because I think they, like this, really lean in on doing something different with the entire genre.
Yeah, as Pixar is like my favorite production company, it's that counter program that Pixar needs.
Yeah,
especially in the realm of animation.
And I think Pixar does amazing work and has like continually pushed boundaries. But
yeah,
I mean, movies like this really show that you can also do a Steven Spielberg adventure film. You know, like he's legitimately basically doing his Raiders of the Lost Ark type adventures in an animated form with a character that you may not necessarily know, but you're here for it.
PJ, Columbia also did Spider-Verse, didn't they?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Fuck. Well, shit.
I will say it does feel kind of like a problem to me for this movie that Tintin just kind of seems,
it's so good.
You know, gee willikers, can't wait for an adventure. Like, there doesn't seem to be anything propelling him other than the interest of doing the adventure.
That's what I find charming about it. He's like a Boy Scout almost.
Yeah, I think that's the contrast to real quick, Evan, real quick. Like, I think that's the contrast to Raiders of the Lost Ark of just Indiana Jones has that you could die at any moment because he's kind of an alcoholic, rough older guy. Whereas this kid, you're like, he'll be fine. So the threat isn't there in a weird way.
I would argue that's why doing it as an animation, which inherently is less, has less threat level because of its format. You know, this is a PG animated film. We're not talking about like heavy metal here.
Totally. It feels much more for kids' first kind of adventure movie, kids' first Indiana Jones in a way.
Well, I mean, that's, I think, that needs to happen, number one, because I think they deserve their own movie. But there's also something to be said about being the kid who is that, like, golly gee willikers, like, let's go on an adventure. But I don't think it doesn't take the danger away for me. It makes it more dangerous because he is that way, which means that he is more prone to get into situations he may not necessarily know how to get out of.
Yeah, it's just a weird point of comparison to compare Spielberg to Spielberg, whereas Raiders of the Lost Ark starts in middle of the jungle, secret tomb, treasure, guy just on the like heels of his feet, and this one's like he's getting his picture drawn and like he finds a boat and somebody's like, I want that boat. Like,
I find it very charming.
I do too.
It's cute and charming.
It's a very pulpy type narrative, and pulp narrative is like pulp stories are a dime a dozen. Literally, that's what they were. But it's just the idea of being these kind of just fun adventures, and that's why, like, I still love The Rocketeer because it's very similar. It's just like a very go get 'em like adventure film, you know.
Okay, so the point I was going to make earlier, and now it really doesn't matter, but my point to Hogue. My brother literally went out today. I guess he was bored. He took the keys. I'm like, where are you going? I'm going out on an adventure. And that's all he would tell me. So I buy it. I buy it. People are like this.
Exactly. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I used to do that as a teenager.
I'm not saying the idea of just somebody doing an adventure isn't initially compelling. It's just...
Well, I think also with the opening credits and the scene in his office where you see the news clippings, it's established that this is something he's done before.
But it's very old school in a fashion that I don't think audiences are attuned to.
But you're attuned to.
Not necessarily. Like, this very much feels at a different pace than adventure films than I'm used to.
That's fair. I also this what I'm getting to learn about you, Pap. I think you'd be a great producer. You ask questions that have to be asked.
I got the hard-hitting results. I want to boil some eggs.
I produce stuff, and if I'm a producer, I'm not saying no to Steven Spielberg. He can do what he wants.
I mean, true. Correct.
Mike K brings up an excellent point. He says, a thought just occurred to me. As much as we all want Peter Jackson to direct the sequel, what if they rebooted the property with Paul King at the helm? I wouldn't be against him directing the sequel. I don't necessarily...
I don't think they need to reboot it. It wasn't... I mean, they just do another Tintin animated film and that, you know...
Yeah.
See, but sorry, go ahead, PJ.
Oh, I was just going to say, because I think that the brilliance of this was that they did it with a little bit of mocap, right? So you could legitimately still get Jamie Bell to come back, and the age wouldn't really matter.
Well, he was much older than he was playing anyways.
Exactly.
But his voice was right, and he had a generally good resemblance to the classic comics.
Mm-hmm.
See, but it still feels like this property is, hampered by the fact that people who are attuned to the property are the ones that are going to get it. It's still a fun adventure, but it really is made for the people of, like, remember Tintin? Him on these, like, crazy adventures?
Whereas that amazing worldwide.
It didn't do amazing, though.
I mean, it did really well for itself worldwide. It was here that obviously was not very American, but like for us, we didn't really show up. But I saw it in theaters, but at the same time, the overseas audience dug this movie.
It did 77 domestic and then 300 million worldwide on what's the budget?
175.
Which is like it's like that's
expensive.
That's barely breaking even. And especially for like franchises nowadays, you want to clear like close to $1 billion. And it's like you want to talk about Paul King doing a franchise, him being involved in doing a Willy Wonka movie gets me more confidence in that like there's a nostalgia play versus like Tintin that has fun value to it, but I feel like is a little bit more.
Yeah, but at a certain point, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. We've had enough Willy Wonka stuff. As excited as I am that Taika's doing something with it for Netflix, it's like there are other properties or other original ideas that can... I mean, for every blockbuster that's made of an existing property, there's one that hits big from a new material.
See, but this scene right here, if like, is this supposed to be a kid scene or like a kid movie? Because he has a gun, and now there's gunfire.
Oh, it's
like
PG. It's a family movie. I think you're getting caught.
The movie that we're watching on Monday or on next Monday is a PG Disney movie, and it has tons of gunfire. So
and I think it does
unprecedented.
It a lot better. Like I don't want to down talk this movie because I think it's a lot of fun, but I think a lot of it's trying to get a lot of its mileage out of like IP, and I don't think the IP is strong enough to support, as a producerial mindset to justify.
I don't know if I agree, but I can respect the opinion if that's fair.
And just like, why wasn't a sequel made, or like why wasn't like
do well enough? A and B. Peter Jackson decided to make 85 Hobbit movies.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. More than anything, was Jackson got stuck on the Hobbit, and it was just like the timing ended up being.
No, but if this film did blockbuster like numbers, they would have done a sequel, regardless of what Peter Jackson was up to for the Hobbit.
Again, a film's success or lack thereof is no merit on its quality.
True. I'm not saying this is a bad film. I'm just saying I'm going to back off because I don't want to like criticize this film too. You guys like clearly love it a lot more than I do. I just think
with you.
I just think like the pop culture kind of like footprint this has isn't as strong as
and I agree with. That's why I said up top I was
strong and
appreciated,
not in terms of quality.
Yeah, like that's why I
is more. And I think spending almost $200 million on a Tintin movie was a huge risk.
Yeah.
Like, a risk that Spielberg and Jackson and Kennedy's career allowed them to take.
But I think they were spending the $200 million on Spielberg, not necessarily Tintin.
No, they're spending it on him and Peter Jackson and Kathleen Kennedy, who came on to produce it.
And doing this, like a technologically very different.
Yeah, I also think it was for Spielberg, it was a technical exercise. He was like, oh, my buddy Rob Zemeckis did this. Let me try it and see if I can one-up him.
And I totally see the value in like, I want to see more movies like this of find something that might capture like the cultural zeitgeist in a way that really like can be exemplified. I just feel like this one isn't the right property for that.
Stardrew says Tintin is showing the world. So if you didn't read the book, this would have been your first time seeing the world of Tintin, which is kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. And that's what's so interesting because, again, to the point that I said earlier, even in our small pool of people right here, like 2 of us knew what Tintin was going into it to begin with. The other 2 were not nearly as familiar. And that's just because it's much more of a worldwide property, because I think that we get caught up on just the stuff we know here in America sometimes, which understandably that's the stuff we grow up on. But there's a merit to trying to bring something to life from somewhere else too. And I love this. It's very slapsticky. And I think Nick Frost and Simon Pegg are wonderful. Was there anyone better to play these very aloof Quinn detectives?
No, not in year 2011.
Yeah, what's the British pairing nowadays? Matt Smith and David Tennant, or
I mean, it still feels like Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, yeah.
I mean, if this was done in the 90s, it probably would have been Hugh Laurie and
Stephen Fry.
Yeah, Fry. Thank you.
Also, what a great shot.
Right? And again, I think that Spielberg really used the technology in this movie to his advantage, because he really put you into positions of danger that you didn't necessarily see in the animated films, as weird as that might sound. And I think that the score is just so wonderful. Like, I think the score really sells the movie. Hogue, has that ever happened to you? Because I feel like you could be the live-action Tintin.
In terms of what exactly?
Being drugged and put in a box and.
I love this shot following the dog, keeping it his.
I'm not gonna. I'm gullible enough to fall for it, but I would not be able to escape. So I'd be more of a story on the news than like a Tintin adventurer solves the crime.
That's fair. I do love what Max just said. I love that tracking shot following Snowy legitimately through the house. I just think it's so great.
What a good dog.
Yeah.
If I got kidnapped, my dog would be like, meh.
No, Snowy, don't get run over.
That's a cute dog, honestly.
Animal companions that like have that bond to their hero and will do whatever it takes to like. And this, it's funny that this came up the same weekend as Warhorse, because I think
vastly different films.
Yeah, but you know, Steven Spielberg kind of has that initial empathy. Ew, utters. The sound effect on the sploosh of the.
Mike K says it's the perfect storm of spot-on casting and a pair of writers that are well-versed in their comedic sensibilities. Absolutely. Yep. Malcolm says, I think Rowan Atkinson would have done great if they had decided to do Army Hammer from Social Network type role. That could have been good too, as the bumbling detectives, him playing both roles. I love Rowan Atkinson.
It is, you know what is going to be a controversial statement?
You've been saying controversial shit all stream. So I think gotta keep going, Pat.
I think the biggest problem with this film is Steven Spielberg. Because I think you have a lot of very kinetic, like frantic energies associated with Edgar Wright, Joe Carnahan, Peter Jackson, whereas Steven Spielberg is very Joe Cornish, sorry, my apologies, is very traditional and is presenting this in a very Raiders of the Lost Ark like deliberate pace sort of thing, and I kind of want to see it a little bit more frantic, and I think that's what I'm looking for. Just the energy feels just a hair too slow for how this story should be presented, whereas if you had Edgar Wright like being like, I'm Tintin, this is my adventure and I'm about to go on it, I feel like I'd be more engaged with this guy's a bit archetypical, but the way it's being told is so energetic that I'm on board.
I don't think this type of old-fashioned adventure meshes well with that sort of kinetic, hyper, fast-paced filmmaking. I think that would be too harsh of a juxtaposition.
But I think them being a part of the writing is leaning too much in that direction, whereas the film starts like quickly and just keeps going. And I think we just know the film to be kind of the pace that it is because that's the film that was made. I just want something a little faster.
I mean, I can compare it to the cartoon that they made originally, where I think this is way faster paced than the cartoon that was originally made. Like they 100%. I mean, and again, that's more of a like serialized cartoon, but they definitely sped up the pace, at least to me.
Totally compared to the cartoon, but I feel like for modern, cinema, it feels still slightly slower than what it should.
A lot of modern cinemas, it's too fast paced, and they don't spend time building story or characters, especially in blockbusters.
I feel like Edgar Wright's energy as a director would serve this a lot better.
I mean, we would have seen it because he was supposed to direct one of them. So it would have been curious because I think every director would have brought a very different type of energy, but it would all still have been familiar. If you know what I mean, like I would have been very curious because, I mean, Peter Jackson made 6 movies in Middle Earth, and I would say that the Lord of the Rings films feel vastly different, even pace-wise, to the Hobbit films.
Totally, and I feel like Peter Jackson would have been a smarter choice to set up this universe, then give Steven Spielberg the sequel to, like, take his time to enjoy these characters.
Guys, not to budge into your conversation, the thing that I'm, like, most surprised about this film so far is every shot looks alive. Yeah. Like it is engaged. Like the camera is acting like someone who's watching these people doing something versus like just a camera sitting there.
No, totally.
It's a really interesting role.
That's kind of what I was saying earlier, and I think Max was really the one who brought it up. Like the camera has a life of its own, and I love it for that. Like it feels like a live action movie a lot of the time, which I think is interesting. Jonathan Peck says, "Question: What do you think the sole reason why Paramount Pictures haven't been reverent for a long time in terms of box office?" I have an answer, and I'll let Evan go after. But at least in my opinion, I think that they've just really missed the ball on what they should be doing blockbuster-wise. I think that they keep chasing trends and missing the mark, and also missing on a easy trend that they should have gotten, which was they kept putting Michael Bay on Transformers, not realizing the easiest thing to do would have been to get rid of him early on and bring someone else in and then cross it over with G.I. Joe. Like that was the most obvious choice and they never made it. So for me, it's just really weird decision-making on their forefront of doing blockbuster films outside of Mission Impossible.
I think there's a problem with the question. There's no sole reason. Like there are 1,000 reasons why studios make decisions. Like if you want to, talking in a producerial mindset, that was funny. Him getting hit in the head with the cork and then falling down. Good bit. But you bring Michael Bay back because each Transformer movie makes more money than the last to the point where 4 makes over $1 billion. As a producer, that makes sense.
And those movies are awful.
But I do think they do the most kind of scattershot approach to what is a franchise. Let's figure it out in terms of different IP.
Real quick, Andy Serkis is incredible in this.
MVP of this movie.
Okay. Because I was saying, it's also a bigger problem that Paramount has. They're unwilling to invest in themselves. So I recently mentioned how they dropped the theme parks. They sold their theme parks when they're at their peak. When they were running at their highest functionality. That's when they sold them. Granted, that's a different thing, but it's a big umbrella company. And I think at that time, I can't look back. They just stopped believing in their own product versus, then now they're picking up these different IPs, especially if you look at something like The Mummy. It's just... Oh, wait, that's Universal. Sorry. You get the idea. They stopped believing in themselves.
I don't disagree because I think they have some amazing IP that they've really slept on. And I think they're already getting ahead of themselves with the G.I. Joe stuff because they're doing the
Snake Eyes
right now, but they've already announced a G.I. Joe follow-up where Snake Eyes is supposed to be a part of it. And like, we haven't even seen Snake Eyes yet.
But they do experiment, I think, a lot more. When you have Despicable Me as a franchise, when you have the Fast and Furious movies as a franchise.
Well, that's Universal, though.
Fast and Furious is Universal.
Damn it, I looked at me.
So is Illumination is Universal also. Paramount only really has one current legitimate franchise, and that's Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, they have Transformers, but Bumblebee, as good as it was not as big of a hit as the other Transformers movies.
But I think that is more of a condemnation on the previous Transformers movie than it is on Bumblebee.
Well,
and I think
absolutely.
if they're smart, they capitalize on it and like go that direction with
I
it,
agree.
like grassroots.
Malcolm asks, there was a rumor that Peter Jackson's movie was going to bring in Professor Calculus. Who have you cast in that role?
For me, it's someone who was mentioned earlier, and that's Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie would be great. Or for me, just because I would love to see him play evil again, David Tennant. I think Tennant could have been interesting, but I think Laurie's like the very best choice.
Also, to Michael's point, in the chat, where he says Paramount doesn't really have an identity anymore. If they ever did, I disagree. Their identity is really interesting. It was like mid-budget, $60 million to like $40 million films that were a lot of fun, like really engaging.
Paramount also used to be very prestige too, because you know. Oh, go ahead, Max.
A problem with all studios is they're not making those mid-range movies anymore.
Yep.
In the way they used to. It's either $200 million blockbuster or $10 million indie, where they could really make a lot of money on these adult-skewed $50 million films. It's a less risk and you get bigger the reward.
I mean, look at Bad Boys for Life.
But I also think that Paramount sold off the rights to Marvel to Disney, and I think they're very much in a kind of a younger sibling.
Sold it off. The Marvel rights were worth nothing. They didn't.
But they produced up until Avengers. Like their logo is still on all those films, and I think as a mindset of a studio, they are kind of in catch-up mode of, we missed out on that. What can we do to kind of? We literally gave away the golden goose. What does it mean to us to kind of make up for that? And when you make that much of a loss in terms of a business strategy, it is kind of, what direction do you go in when you missed Marvel?
Well, I
think
that they're going to feel that, particularly with Beverly Hills Cop 4, as weird as that sounds, because coming off of Bad Boys for Life, having the guys who did that doing Beverly Hills Cop 4 and knowing that like an audience still exists for these characters in this world that puts them in a weird position, I think. And like they sold it to Netflix because they were worried, and then Bad Boys came out. And I mean, I know this year is weird, but Bad Boys is currently the highest grossing film of the year by quite a bit.
Well, it's a very weird year.
Yeah.
But I mean, the point being that the audience showed up to the tune of almost $400 million for Bad Boys.
Don't get me wrong, unmitigated success.
Right.
And I think
that's
if anyone shows up to play, like if he truly shows up for a Beverly Hills Cop 4 and like commits himself to it, you got something there. You get a director, like you get Joe Carnahan to do that, or like
the Bad Boys guys are the ones who are currently set to direct it.
I mean,
that's why
it makes sense.
And that's why I think they're going to be chased. Paramount seems to second guess themselves a lot, is kind of where I'm going. And it's like they have the thing and then they give the thing away. And then they're like, oh, but we want the thing back, Yeah. And so that was kind of what it felt like. I was like, they made the announcement before Bad Boys came out, and I was just kind of sat there going, not sure this is the way to go with it. But
it's just looking at their filmography, they are always on the tail end of success. Where like Terminator Dark Fate not doing well.
Right.
Interstellar doing well for them, but that was with Legendary and Warner Brothers, and then Cloverfield, which is now a tainted brand with Paradox.
Right. Which went Netflix.
Yeah, and now they're just waiting for Indiana Jones, which is now Lucasfilm, which isn't going to even beat them. Like
this sequence is brilliant,
Disney.
by the way.
No, I was going to point that out. I think what's really interesting about this film being mocap, but also animated at the same time, you can get away with some like really animated techniques. I was a big fan of like them sliding up and down the bunks. That was a really good visual gag in the back. And everything, like the reactions become off more real, more realistic because it's mocap, but you get away with all the fun little like animated comedy sketches.
Yeah, it's so good. That laugh is so good. I love Andy Serkis in this. I think he is magnificent, and once again proving why he's really the unsung hero of mocap and animation. Like he creates such interesting characters.
What a good joke.
Yeah,
and he's the sole reason I'm the most excited for the new Batman with him as Alfred, especially under Matt Reeves as the direction of. He's going to bring such a dimensionality to a character that already has gotten that dimensionality, but now he gets to focus it like in a way that character has never gotten.
I think these night sequences look really cool. By the way, they just look so different.
They look so bright. Which is
well, when you're in live action and you're filming at night, it's a lot of work to well light, especially on a boat. The benefit and magic of animation is they can light it however they want. So it looks how it should look if you were on this boat at night. But because it's animated, everything just has a little bit of brighter that looks great.
Yeah, it just looks cool.
I think I figured out another issue I have with this movie. I like this movie.
God.
I like this movie a lot. But
Do you?
This movie
This is not CinemaSins, Pat.
If you notice, the wind is blowing the wrong direction for what their hair is going to be flowing.
I'm
minus
done.
8
Bye,
cinema
guys.
points.
I'm Max.
Max, no. This movie feels like a Rube Goldberg machine.
That's what I like about it.
But like to my point of just, and a lot of the sequences kind of function in this way of just things work out in a very fun and entertaining way that feels you satisfied, entertained, and feels pretty good. But it feels very inevitable of, we're just going to get to a point after all this fun stuff. So there isn't really any stake to get there. It feels light in that sort of sense of just...
Well, I think it is a PG family film.
I get it, but it also has guns, liquor, like it's trying to be
it's
Indiana
finding a
Jones.
nice blend. It's not trying... Well, the fact is Indiana Jones is so ingrained in the very world of pulp adventure, as is this. They're both, starting from the same...
I get it, and
point.
I guess
you do have to remember the comics were written starting in the 1920s.
And this is again, like you guys very much are bringing up the cartoons, the comics. Somebody who doesn't have that kind of history, it does kind of feel like a very specific kind of niche and version of this story that I'm like referencing. And I think I'm not familiar with that kind of version of it.
Which I can understand.
So I feel kind of not one-to-one with the feeling and tone of this movie. Like it feels like a throwback in a way that I have yet to like appreciate, that I really get, but it's different. I don't know. It's weird.
And that's
I
so
love
good.
that. That's so
Yeah,
good.
that's so good. I can appreciate but I think that's the big thing for me and Max is, because this is, again, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve for the very pulpy serial storytelling. Like that's something I love. Rocketeer, The Shadow, Lone Ranger. Like I grew up with a lot of that. The Phantom. Like, so that kind of stuff really speaks to me.
Yeah.
Which is, this movie has always spoke to me for that reason, because it totally fits that vein.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to at all be familiar with the source material. I don't think there's anything like some other comic book films where you're lost.
Right.
But to what PJ was saying, the tone is very much of the old-fashioned serial, which is a tone I
Totally.
love. And I definitely agree that the modern sensibility has been wired to not necessarily be in tune with that.
Right.
I think this movie has a lack of adaptation in that sense of it's very much modern in the sense of modern filmmaking, but in terms of tonality and storytelling, like
But I don't think
verbiage,
you have to adapt something to be modern.
Totally. I get what you're saying, but I think it kind of speaks to why there wasn't more success for this film. In like the audience is not as wide for this as Marvel, which kind of fits into more of the modern.
Yeah, but I'd argue this is better than a good majority of Marvel movies. But that's me, of course. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I'm just hung up on your argument that success equates quality.
No,
just because a lot of people want to go see
that.
something doesn't mean it's good. Like if you look at the list of like the movies that have made $1 billion, there are far more bad ones than good ones.
And I'm not at all saying that success equates quality. I'm just saying in terms of like tonality and like this form of storytelling very much fits the time frame that it was in, and the
time place it takes place in.
Totally.
It's not this sort of old-fashioned pulp tone, but it's set in 2010. It's set in the past.
Yeah, and I think that just makes it a little less digestible than a lot of other films. I think there's a little bit more work to go into it.
If we take like, okay, Marvel, Captain America, the First Avenger has the same tone as this. It's that old-fashioned pulp adventure tone, which is why that's one of my favorite MCU movies. And Joe Johnston
but that also does
that so well.
That has a clear 3-act structure. It starts with Steve undergo like you get him on the streets lower before he's like Captain America, and you go through that transformation.
I think you get hung
up
on
this film. I'm just saying.
No, I think your whole point, and I mean, to better for it's your point and you can live with it and I can respect it. I don't agree. Is that you wish that it felt like it was almost an origin film because I feel like you're tied up on the fact that you're already on just another adventure with Tintin.
And that's what I love about it. I find most origin films lugubrious.
Totally.
There's an SAT word for you.
I just don't find Tintin as a compelling character. So I think it makes sense to start in media res with him because you just kind of get the
so
archetype.
great with the cane.
But it just takes a while to get to. I don't know. It's a very because I think this film is well made. I think the story is fun. I think it's adventurous and energetic and keeps my attention.
I mean, there's a plane about to take off of a boat. That's awesome.
That's fun. But it's like I don't know what Tintin wants.
All right, he wants to go on an adventure. And that's what we're going to stick with.
That's fair.
Jonathan,
I am done critiquing.
Thank you. I love you.
I'll do it. I'll do it really quick.
Real quick.
I'm actually not a big fan of how the action's working. I think it looks a little clunky, but that's okay. I understand the purpose behind it. But
the irony is that Michael Bay helped Paramount to give them billions of dollars in a street named after him on the Paramount backlot for the reason is why the reason Paramount didn't.
No, John, you're wrong.
No, I mean,
now.
Look, Michael Bay is a very specific filmmaker for a very specific time that does movies that some people respond to and some people don't. That's just how it is. And he gained his success for a reason, and I can't be mad about it, but I can also be mad that I think he got stuck on a property that I wish he had done better on.
I just hate how Michael Bay presents women in film. That's all.
Yeah.
I hate how Michael Bay presents humans in film.
Even fair.
And I find some of his films kind of fun, but he's not a human filmmaker at all.
No. He's a robotic one at that.
So this whole sequence is great because Snowy is getting as irritated about trying to get the information as Tintin feels. And I just love how it takes him getting drunk.
I mean, I don't want to hark back on it, but like Tintin and Steve Rogers are actually very similar characters.
They are.
They're like very Boy Scout, goody two-shoes, want to do things for the right of it, are driven by a sense of doing good, solving adventures, and helping out the best they can. And I think that's what's charming about Tintin and why I love Steve Rogers.
But I think it truly goes to show where you start the story is just as important as who you
love
tell
that
the story.
That transition.
That's a good transition.
Stunning.
That's pretty great. I wish that when they come back to Tintin, they were flat and they just came back because they got
the way they walk with the canes just makes me happy.
This guy is the most obvious pickpocketer.
I know.
He's just like, I can't wait.
See, but that's such a Spielberg shot, though.
It
I
really
think that's what makes Spielberg so nice. Like the shot of the shoes right before they all walk through. That's so Spielberg.
I think this movie really lives or dies on his direction, depending on what you're looking for out of the movie. And I think his direction is beautiful.
Well, I think the fact, too, that he was able to...
I love that, having actual birds flying around his head like that.
So clever. The fact that he was able to stay true to... I guess the fact that he was able to still make it feel like his work in animation is impressive.
Yeah.
Because there are other animated films made by filmmakers who don't primarily do animation and they don't feel necessarily like akin to their work. And this is still very much a Spielberg adventure movie.
Mm-hmm. I think the closest I can think of off the top of my head is Gore Verbinski doing Rango. Because Gore Verbinski... That is a Gore Verbinski film, right?
Yeah. And I absolutely agree with what Mike K just said in the chat.
I was going to wait till Hogue came back so he could hear it, but I agree.
Guys, now that Hogue isn't here, can you talk about how awesome he is?
I love Hogue. I just think that he's getting caught up on it a little, and that's okay. I understand he's got his point of view. I think he's just coming at it the wrong way because it's not supposed to be an origin film. It's just a new Tintin adventure. And again, I also understand that for some people that feels weird, but I think as an audience, we've been predisposed to have this idea that we need origins for everything. And I don't think
if you look at all of the origin films, they mostly are boring.
Right.
Because it's the rare one that does a great job. Like I just rewatched Batman Begins the other day. That does a great job because of the way it goes back and forth in time, and it's really compelling. And we had never actually seen Batman's origin like that before. But if you look at like the Amazing Spider-Man and the first Spider-Man, and all these origin stories are sort of like, I'd almost rather like 5 minutes of montage and then just get into the adventure. Tell me a fun story.
Right.
And you can use that story to build character. You don't have to build character with origin exposition. You can build it through their actions and the way they handle things. And I think this film does a good job of that. Like you get a very good sense of who Tintin is and what his goals are by the way he behaves.
What a great shot.
Thrown into this adventure. Like I love earlier when he goes and thinks his ship was stolen and then you see he realizes it wasn't. That's very telling about his character without having to explain it or be an origin.
So I don't know if anyone saw every time I tweeted or talked about that we were doing this. One of my jokes was, "Please don't light a fire in our boat." This is a very specific reference to this sequence in the movie because I've always loved this and it always just made me giggle. I think it's the kind of thing that if I was drunk, I'd probably do the same thing. If I'm honest.
Okay, we're trading now.
All right.
Also, PJ, you triggered me.
Max,
because you're talking about how Bad Boys for Life was like the highest performing film of the year. Not that I'm sad by it. Like I know you love the movie, and I know a lot of people adore the movie. But like the top 5, there's 2 bad movies and 3 really good ones: Bad Boys for Life, Sonic the Hedgehog, Dolittle, Birds of Prey, and The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man making the top 5
is a bad year for box office. We cannot do any indication of like what that means for pop culture right now.
We're going to move off of this real quick, but I wanted to point out Mike K's comment to you. He said, as someone who is at best a casual fan of Tintin, from what I gather, this property is less about strong character development and more about taking the audience on a globetrotting adventure.
Totally. I just think that means people nowadays are looking for more character-led stories than
I agree with.
That's fair.
And I agree with
that. It's what I gravitate to.
Whereas me, I just like adventure films sometimes.
Totally. And don't get me wrong. Again, this is really entertaining. This is Spielberg pulling all of his all of his tricks. The characters are fun, engaging. This is a fun adventure. I have the same moment in the middle of this film that I will have when I'm leaving it of, that was fun.
This moment is so good.
Not like when I leave Indiana Jones, which is like, I kind of know him a little bit.
I just love this so much. And I do understand where you're coming from. Like, I can't, it's all your mileage may vary sort of things.
Totally. 1000%.
And that's why I can't argue with you on like,
it's my lack of knowledge. I've never seen The Rocketeer. I'm really not associated with a lot of these kind of like older kind of pulp style stories. So
maybe we should do a pulp month. That would be fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, we could do a pulp month. Max, what do you think about doing a pulp month of watch-alongs?
Absolutely.
Is Pulp Fiction in there?
No, it's
gotta do the Phantom though.
Yeah, I was thinking like the Shadow,
Phantom, Rocketeer.
Yeah, and probably
is
Lone Ranger
Darkman in there.
So no. Darkman's it's kind of pulpy, but it's not like this. It's much more it was much more Sam Raimi being like, I can do a horror film with superheroes.
Yeah.
Do the Tomb Raiders.
Yeah.
I like the newer one better, if I'm being honest.
Lara Croft and the Last Crusade is what it should have been called.
Still not great. Other pulp movies.
This whole...
You could do Lone Ranger, although it's long. It's a bit long for a watch-along as far as I'm concerned. I like it, but...
These water sequences, by the way...
the water looks real.
The water looks real, and even the characters drenched in water look good for animation, which I think is incredible because there's times you can watch animated films and the water doesn't look quite right if a character gets wet.
This movie walked so the Good Dinosaur could run.
I don't like the Good Dinosaur.
The animation is stunning.
Sure, the animation is stunning. I agree.
The water specifically.
Moana.
Yeah.
It's stunning water animation.
Finding Dory.
Mike K says Blarg Doolittle was awful in ways it really shouldn't have been. And that's coming from Michael K.
Oh, Mask of Zorro.
Oh, yeah, Mask of Zorro, 100%.
There you go. 4, right there. Which is on Netflix now, which makes it accessible for Those who want to watch along with us.
In 4K, by the way, the brand new Sony 4K transfer that they just did. And it is.
Speaking of 4K, did you see Lord and Miller announced they're currently remastering 21 and 22 Jump Street for 4K with Atmos sound?
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, the lightning and the plane. It's just, this movie is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Every frame is beautiful.
This Lord shot can be my dad.
It honestly, the first time I saw it, it gave me anxiety in like the very right ways, because the idea of flying through a plane or through a storm like this and the lightning and stuff actually really got to me, because all I could think is, what would I do in a situation like this?
Surgical spirits, Captain. I've been in a lightning storm in a plane before. I was flying alone, and the woman next to me was flying alone. And when we finally landed, I had deep bruise marks of her fingers, like in my forearm.
Oh, God.
It was terrifying.
I can't even imagine. Like,
I love this. The bubble of alcohol that heat is so good.
Hogue, that is what you and I would do.
And I love Snowy.
PJ, if we're ever in this situation, I would die to know what we're going towards and like how we got there.
That is a thrill that when I was in a similar situation, there was like a legitimate pilot, and I wasn't the one flying the plane.
Yeah. I like that he's like, you do not get my alcohol again. This is one of the most captivating sequences of the film for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the movie's an adventure machine. It's about getting you from one adventure sequence to the next, but it's so well done in that and so colorful that it's just fun.
Christopher.
I mean, I don't want to hark on it, but like
Mm-hmm.
an animated film that came out just this week looks far worse than this one does.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, I mean,
mocap or not, this is an animated film.
And I thought Mike Kay made a good point. If Scoob had looked more like Peanuts and been more like Peanuts, it probably would have been more successful.
Peanuts is beautiful.
Yeah. That was a smart update on source material.
I would like a sequel to that.
I would too.
I would like a sequel to that that's just You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, the musical.
Oh, totally.
Have you, wait, Max, have you read or seen Dog Sees God?
Yeah, I've read it.
I've seen it live by a high school theater company, but you know, give them props for props is due. What an intriguing show!
It is very smart.
It brings up
the things you can do.
My friend did a very low budget production of it here in the city at a small theater for like a weekend, and of course, I was out of town that weekend. I didn't get to see him do it. Didn't it? Land! Love it.
This is one of the great things you can do with animation. Again, to kind of what I was saying earlier, Spielberg found ways to find danger in a way that you couldn't necessarily do always in live action. And I think that's really great. Like,
although you know what this kind of reminds me of, and it occurs to me now that it is very much a pulp movie, even though it's also a superhero movie, is Aquaman.
Yes, absolutely.
Like this scene reminds me quite a bit of, minus the Pitbull song.
Yeah. Pitbull's Africa song.
When they jump off the plane without parachutes into the desert.
Yeah. It's Leigh Whannell's flying the plane.
Aww.
I actually love this, though. I think this was a great way to create danger.
Well, it's very much like a weird throwback to Indiana Jones with the propeller.
Yes. 100% it is.
I mean, there's definitely an element of Spielberg riffing on himself in this movie.
I think that's why, in a way, him doing Ready Player One and this and not doing Indy 5 kind of makes sense to me, to be honest. Because I feel like he felt like he already harked back to himself.
Oh,
you know?
God. Oh, I have a thing with propellers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, for some reason, when I'm watching a movie, especially in IMAX or a really big screen, and there's helicopters, the motion of the propellers makes me queasy.
Dude, it's so funny. I was the crazy fucker as a child who put his hand in the fan trying to stop.
Yeah,
We all do.
Like
we
you would
get
just
it.
do that
I've
for
done that with,
fun.
like-
I was like, I want to feel something right now.
I've done that with fans, like little one, like the one I have on my desk here. But
This film just feels a little bit like the speech from Jurassic Park of like, you focused too much on whether you could, you didn't think about whether you should.
that's how I feel about everything you've been saying.
Max,
got
I want to stay
burned.
friends through this. I
Oh,
swear I do.
I am not the type of person
This
who allows
is
a difference of
amazing.
opinion on a movie to alter my friendship unless you're being sexist about it or racist about
The
it.
fact
Well,
that
don't get
Snowy
me
has
wrong.
the
We all
Snowy-
know what the one person needs to be up front in this movie, and it is. How do I like make myself have an error screen right now?
We're legitimately not talking about the fact that Snowy's walking around with a dinosaur bone in his mouth. I'm just throwing
I didn't
that
even.
out there. It's
So,
adorable.
Fuck the people. Fuck the
Max,
people, by the
this
way.
Friday. Go ahead, Evan.
Fuck the people, by the way, who went to the dog park and left some chicken bones for my dogs to munch on. Terrible human beings. If I go to a dog park and I see chicken bones again, I'm gonna be mad because dogs aren't supposed to have those.
Yeah,
Hey.
those are bad for dogs.
Get a picket sign.
Okay.
Protest.
Real quick, this sequence is so rad, and I love it so
Oh my god, that bone
much.
is huge.
Yeah, see? It's adorable.
I'm not gonna lie.
Mike K
That kid
says,
just reminded me of Taron Egerton.
a little. I could see that. In terms of animating sand, this movie crawled so How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World.
Okay,
can walk.
we're done
You
with
know
that
what
phrase. We've
Would be a
used it
great
20
Dr.
times.
Calculus is Craig Ferguson.
Here it is. Look at this. This is so great, and I love the way that they tell this backstory.
Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End walked so this movie could fly.
Thank you.
Pat talked so he could also not talk anymore.
So I could choke to death.
You
just-
said it, not me. Here, would you like a chip, Pat? To help you
Yes,
with the
please.
chicken?
Hold on. I have some saltines with me.
Guys,
Max,
I
you-
just
you pass
love
off
this
a chip?
sequence.
Here you go.
Ready? And I'll pick it out. Ah, there we go.
Yeah. That looked pretty
The-
good, actually.
This was such a brilliant way to do the exposition of everything we needed to this point.
Oh, what's that thing called? Oh my god. What's that thing called?
A
What?
spyglass?
Yeah.
Spyglass. Beautiful.
Also, this score right here is just so great.
I like that purple outfit.
Oh yeah,
That's
I'd wear
pretty
that
great.
for Halloween. Is that Andy Serkis doing that too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's his ancestor.
Right.
You can definitely hear it too of like
And
that's
the
same
water
character.
in this scene walked so that I could eat this chip.
Yes, sir.
Run, Max. Run.
This movie walked. So Pat was running.
I love that Mike K said that, though, because it really has become something we've said a lot on here lately.
I want to reiterate, I like this movie. I do.
As much
I
as I
just
love
don't
the How to
love
Train Your
it.
Dragon movies, I think Kung Fu Panda 2 is also gorgeous and underappreciated.
Yes, it was. I agree with
And John
Mike.
Powell's score in the scene where Poe realizes that there are more pandas out there gives
Yeah.
me chills.
Don't- Max, we want to talk about the first two Kung Fu Pandas.
This
We'll
whole
be here all night. I
They're
love those.
Like,
Dude,
what a
The
great.
third one was a bit of a letdown, if I'm being honest,
Totally.
compared
Guys,
to
I skipped
I
school
think
for Kung
How
Fu
to Train
Panda.
Your Dragon finished
Yeah.
better, but
I skipped school for Kung Fu Panda.
I also quite enjoy the Kung Fu Panda attraction at Universal Hollywood.
Whoa. Tell me about it.
It's mostly a 4D movie, but the seats move a little bit, and they use the walls on either side for animation also, so you really feel immersed in the world. It's really
Wait, does it replace the Despicable Me ride that's in Orlando?
Just look
no,
at how
it's in its own
crazy this
special theater.
sequence is.
Despicable
This
Me
is pretty
so-
awesome, PJ. I like two ships intertwined
Oh,
battling.
it's
Yeah.
stunning. This is as good of a pirate fight scene as anything in the. The Pirates movies walk, so this scene.
Literally, run.
No,
Look at him.
you mean they swung on ropes to the other
I mean,
ship? So
without
this one,
Cutthroat Island, this movie would not exist.
I just think that it's again to the point that that I've been saying. Spielberg really found a way to take what he had done in live action and found a way to really try to push it in animation, and it really shows.
If all this movie is Spielberg showing off what he could do in animation, I say Dayenu.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
all right. I got a dictionary that word.
It's a Jewish thing.
Dainu.
I just think it's so thrilling.
Right.
This shot right here of the walking through the flames is just fantastic.
Oh my god, stunning!
Wow,
Oof.
look at that.
And the shadow.
Yeah.
Amazing. What I love too is you could see the sweat on his forehead.
Yeah, They really do capture what I feel like the serialized nature of storytelling in comics and stuff can be. And that's what I don't think we do enough of in modern cinema, for me personally, because I'm such a fan of this storytelling.
It is funny because I'm thinking of the correlation of what really works for me, but not for a lot of people. And, you know, we're going to be talking about Last Jedi next week, but a lot of modern directors use anime very much as a template for like storytelling and kind of like the format. And I grew up with that. I'm very much attuned to, we're going to drastically change tones in comedic, dramatic, and like action sense in a way that you're not used to for like an American audience. And I feel like people who aren't used to that have a bad reaction to anime. The way that I'm kind of reacting to this of like, I don't get this format of storytelling. So I'm like,
that's why I want to watch more with you. And I'd be super curious.
A month of pulp would be pretty fun to do. I'm not gonna
like
as long as there's orange juice served for every show.
You could argue
that reference, Max. What are you doing?
No, not to argue, but like,
I like my orange juice with pulp. I like fresh juice.
Hold on, Evan, what were you saying?
I get your point, Pat, and not to shit on your point. I know like this movie is an origin movie technically. You could argue that's the kind of problem that Solo has, where it's just kind of there to exist versus a driving force for something.
It's also Star Wars is a weird comparison to make with anything because you also have to be a Star Wars movie in a way, which is its own genre that is aping other genres. It's weird.
That character is straight out of like every pulp. There's always a character like this in almost every, you know, even down to the voice. There you go. Even the Mummy. The Mummy is one we didn't bring up. What a great pulp film.
Yeah, perfect.
It's
Can you even define for me what a pulp film is?
Essentially, for me, a pulp film is
an adventure with like
swashbuckling heroes, melodrama,
cheesy element to it.
Yeah, like
I think a story that's more about the adventure than like the characters inside of it.
Yeah, The Kid Who Would Be King is a little bit pulpy. I think it's a little more story heavy than most. It's great.
I'm a huge fan of Attack the Block, so I'm surprised I haven't seen that yet.
It's a great movie.
It is.
Did Snowy just bring him alcohol to drink?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Snowy's a good dog.
He's a very good boy.
Also, I'm definitely not looking for pulp-esque movies in the past 3 years of films I have at least ranked on my letterbox.
That reaction.
Oh, Snowy's embarrassed.
Understandably. Mike says he's saving his energy for later.
Burst through.
Wait, am I allowed to make it?
No, we'll make it at the end of the show.
No, not now, obviously, but like at the end of the show.
Yeah, at the end of the show, absolutely.
Can I do it?
Yes, I said yes already.
I'm sorry. I am drinking.
By the way,
lemonade, vodka, Arnold Palmer's.
So they legitimately stopped this story for about 5 minutes. Then he gets drunk again, and we go right back into finishing this entire story. And I just think it's such a great, because this scene feels so exciting and
his
almost
kid's on fire.
Yeah, but it feels like sensory overload in the right way that they felt like you have to take a breather and then let's get back to it.
You could also argue that's the most pirate thing ever. The story only continues after the rum kicks in.
Right. And just the transitions as he's telling it and Tintin's kind of going in and out. It just works for me, you guys. There's something about the way that they do it. It's just so fun.
Also, something to note, psychologically speaking, he can only remember this memory because he had this memory drunk. When this memory came to him, he was drunk at the time.
Right.
So exactly. He could only remember it while he was drunk, which I forget the term for that. It's leaving me now. But there's a thing where you can only remember certain memories in a certain mood that you're in. And I think that's a really good callback to Spielberg.
This is a very important reveal, by the way. Do you hear the voice?
Yeah, Daniel Craig, right?
Yep. That was such a great transition. So you find out that there's so much of there's a connection here, obviously, to everything we've known.
I think the fact that it's animated makes it just slightly less impressive to me. Just because you can do anything in animation.
They're literally doing everything.
Never say that ever again. Yeah. That hurt me. That hurt.
But like when you have these kind of reveals in Indiana Jones or even National Treasure,
okay, go animate something like this and come back and tell me how less impressive and easy it is. What you got? Put your money where your mouth is.
Max, as a critic, I am here to stand back and objectively view art.
I don't agree that animation is
some of the transitions
actually in many ways.
I know the transitions are amazing.
I'm just saying for myself, there is a tangibility to live action that creates more just kind of impressive nature to it feels again kind of like PJ what you said, sensory overload in a way that takes me out of it rather than keeps me engaged.
But it does things that live action can't, and that's what makes the animation so impressive in that. That's the sole reason animation.
These transitions are just
right now.
They're good. They're cute.
It's not the greatest example, but Missing Link is very pulpy in storytelling, so I need to see. I haven't seen Missing Link yet.
Did you say it's cute?
It's cute. It's
that
fun.
Is honestly my least favorite thing that a grown-up says when they watch an animated film. It was cute.
I don't think it's impressive.
Pat Hogue, you went after animation, and that's the line for me. I love animated movies.
I think saying that
I would love to direct an animated film.
Disservice to the hundreds and hundreds of animators who worked on their computer.
The animation, Max, don't you dare put me in that category of like the
how
technical.
Else was your quote to be interpreted?
The technical craft behind this film is exquisite. It truly is a fundamental like groundbreaking landmark in animation. I'm not taking any away from the animation. I'm talking about the directing purely, and that.
But the transitions are animated.
They are, but it doesn't hit for me in the way that a lot of live action ones do. I think the fact that it's in animation makes it slightly less impressive. The technique is still there. It's still impressive in the
opposite side of the coin.
But Hogue, here's my issue with that statement.
Because you still have to conceive of that.
If it was live action anyways,
totally.
you would like the transitions. So why can't you like them when they're animated in this context? Where you could argue it takes a little bit more effort.
Honestly, if you were to do transitions like that in live action, it would be heavily CGI anyways. And what is CGI? Animation.
That's okay, but guys, I'm not here. I get what you're saying and I get why you love it. It's working different for me on a different level than it is for you guys. And I'm sorry.
I know. Again, you're not into the same storytelling in the same way that
They're having a sword fight in the basement of a boat that's on fire.
I do love that.
I take umbrage with saying that like I don't appreciate the work going into this film. I totally get it.
That was how I interpreted your comment to say it's not as impressive to me. To me, was ignoring the work that did go into it.
No, I just think when something is live action, there is more of an artifice of things could go wrong while making it. This one, its animation is controlled. It's still hard work. I just like the animation like the transitions are impressive, but they're not happenstance. They're very like planned out. Whereas if you had to do it live action,
if you're doing a live action and you don't have it planned out.
No, but if you're doing it live action, say you're shooting a scene on a boat at night, 1,000 miles away on one set, and then you're shooting the other part of the transition on a studio set during the day half a year later.
Sure.
There's not as much of a guarantee that transition is going to flow than if you pre-visit for animation.
That's why CGI is used for those transitions.
Sometimes, most of the time. But
yeah. Like a live action film that comes to mind that has amazing transitions that I would compare to this is Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But a lot of those transitions were enhanced by CGI, like the one with the boggart in the mirror where it goes towards and then it like rumbles and comes out through the other side. Don't get me wrong. The planning of that on a human scale is incredible. But to make it work, you needed animators.
I get that. But it's also that film has 2% the amount of transitions that this movie does. Guys, I don't want to keep like harping on this movie. I'm sorry. Like
we're here to talk about this movie.
but I don't want to make this a negative conversation.
That's why I'm making positive points.
Yeah. I'm gonna step back, and I enjoy this film, and I will relinquish critiques because
you have a T-shirt that says despite what I may say, I enjoy this film.
Hey guys, make sure you guys go check out So on Crypt TV. Pat makes incredible films.
Thanks, Evan.
I really like that film, but I think the transitions needed work.
I'll be honest. I didn't have enough previs animation. You're right. I had to incorporate more CGI.
Yeah. You needed high quality animators like this film had.
Animators made for that film. There's a lot of visual effects in that movie that took me a long time.
Could you imagine if a union goes after Pat Hogue?
I just want to point out, like, I just
look at that
think
transition. Unbelievable.
I just love everything about that whole sequence. That Haddock, as he tells it, lives the adventure, and there's just the way they did it is so cool to me, and I think that's why this movie continues to impress me. Is that I just find the way that the storytelling flows in such a cool way. And this is such a Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones feeling shot and moment right there. Like,
that's so funny. That's talking about it gave me the Coco vibes.
Great.
I think
action.
Coco.
Oh, totally.
Animated or otherwise, this scene coming up astounds me on every level.
Yeah, this is arguably, for me, one of the top 10 sequences of the last 2 decades ever put on film. And
am I about to orgasm on camera?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Evan, this is a children's film.
But this is a children's network. And I don't think there are any children watching.
My 4-year-old nephew actually decided he was going to watch this one.
Is it your bunny?
Working for Thompson and Thompson.
There's some awful disguises.
I know. That's what's always funny is they're really awful at disguises. Yeah, they never take the suits off, which is why at the beginning you see them holding newspaper with eye holes in it. They're terrible at what they do.
Have you guys ever seen the Billy Crystal TinTin Oscars opening?
Yes.
It's pretty nightmare fuel, if anyone has seen that.
The Milanese Nightingale.
Fun fact, my mom's maiden name is Nightingale.
Whoa, that's a dope.
Yeah.
Bianca Castafiore.
Speaking of which, PJ, did you see The Nightingale last year?
I have not yet. I really need to. Sorry.
So, great film.
I had a girl named Bianca ruin my 8th grade year.
Oh,
which was,
sorry, bro.
Was that 1 or 2 years ago for you?
It's actually 6 months ago.
Oh, dude, he's leaning in on the jokes now.
Wait, The Nightingale, that was by...
I've been here for the jokes.
Was that Jennifer Kent, am I right?
Yes.
Who did
I was at a live screening where she and the cast were present. And it was this close to meeting her and giving her a pass to watch So. It was this close, but she was like, I gotta go. And I'm like, oh.
Also, you cannot tell me that's not Meryl Streep.
It's not.
It's not Meryl Streep.
You can't tell me it's not, though.
I can very easily, and it's not, Evan.
It's Meryl Streep.
I can look up the actress that you're degracing by.
How's that a disgrace?
I know I keep bringing it up, but
Fair.
This score is so wonderful. And every time I listen to it, I just get caught up in how adventurous and fun it is. Like, there's just something that John Williams can do that really makes me feel.
What I'll say also is
nostalgic.
John Williams has scored so many movies that there are definitely some of his scores that sound very similar to some of his other scores.
Yep. And
it would have been very easy for him to just sort of do a Indiana Jones light score for this, and he doesn't. He really goes in a different direction, which I appreciate.
Because even though we brought it up a lot, because there's definitely Indiana Jones vibe, TinTin is a very different.
That shot, the water, the building, gorgeous. It's not that impressive, I guess.
Mike K says he also needs to see The Nightingale himself, so I am not alone in this.
I was going to see it, and then I heard some things about it that it was a pretty brutal watch, and I just wasn't in the mood.
Yeah, I can feel that.
I was skimped out on some movies. I have a history of going to watch like PG or G rated movies because I heard like this R-rated movie was a lot. I'm like, you know what? We'll just go watch the animated film.
Sometimes
I didn't sound today.
Man, I get it. Like, one of my comfort films is Remember the Titans, and anytime I don't really know what to put on, I'll just put it on because it never lets me down. Easy one.
But Pat, PJ, it's so bad. I'd go watch like The Secret Life of Pets instead of The Florida Project sometimes.
I can't, dude. I'm not gonna judge you. I get it.
I
Like
really want to go on that ride.
the Secret
What?
Life of Pets one. Yeah, me too. I've
Where?
heard Universal.
Hollywood. It was supposed to open like end of March, and it just hasn't because the park's closed.
Yeah.
PJ, I'm going to Arizona and we are going to California and we
Sure.
are going to go
Let's
to
go.
Universal because there's
I'm
so
coming
many
too.
rides I
Yeah.
haven't ridden.
And we'll get Hogue once we get there.
Hi.
We might hit him in the head a couple of times.
Huh?
Kind of
What?
like TinTin did to people in this, so we're good. I love Haddock's reaction to all of this. It just is so good. They're bleeding.
Yes.
That's such a great shot. The reflection of her in the glasses is like remarkably done, especially for animation.
At the time, especially. I think there's a couple of shots in Toy Story, Toy Story 4 like that. Not to
Oh, don't tell
you get the
Stowe
idea.
he's hurting.
Also, she's singing wondrously. It's just the fact that their culture isn't used to that kind of music is amazing.
Medical emergency.
That was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I love that.
Yeah.
I like opera, but sometimes the like really high soprano opera can be hard to take.
It's funny because you guys know my take on like Phantom and just opera in general. It's not for me. But I can appreciate the art. It is immaculate.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate it.
Oh, watch out!
Oh,
Poor Haddock.
I'm sorry,
I
guys.
love as TinTin starts looking around, just that like realization, oh shit, something's actually happening.
This feels almost very much like Rogue Nation
Mhm.
when they're in the theater.
or Quantum of Solace, but Rogue Nation did it better.
Yeah. I mean, I really do like Quantum, but yes, Rogue
That's
Nation did it way
Best
better.
in Quantum, and the fact that it's on that barge is really beautiful.
Yes. And what a brilliant plan. He's there because she'll break the glass.
His eyes should be exploded.
Imagine having a voice that literally shatters glass like that.
It's very possible. You
Right.
can actually practice how to do it. Like you could do it yourself.
Oh, his falcon, or is that a hawk?
Shoot the bird. Just like blow it up.
All right, it's happening, guys.
Here we go.
This movie is okay. It'd be a lot better with a long one shot that's kind of impressive, like
Oh.
traveling through different environments,
Wait, I think
following multiple characters.
buckle your seatbelt.
You guys, don't even get my hopes up.
This becomes a theme park ride very quickly, and anyone who's never seen this is in for a treat. Or anyone who hasn't seen it in a while is in
Is this
for
a
it.
sequence that you were talking about? That's going to make
Yeah.
me.
Yes, this is it coming up.
As you said, come on screen.
Yes. So orgasm, two different things.
Well,
how?
one is a byproduct of the other.
Exactly.
You know what? I didn't realize this until just now. He sounds like Daniel Radcliffe.
Tintin?
I need Daniel Radcliffe and more things. What a guy.
Have we started?
It's right here.
Wait, a chase sequence. The Rogue Nation comparisons continue. Hey, that first Avenger motorcycle that Max was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the unnecessary commentary, but it's kind of what we're doing. Maybe I don't know.
This whole sequence is so mind-blowing in the right way.
It's got a fucking rocket. His junk ass has a rocket launcher,
Yes,
and he's not even
and
holding it right. You can see where he's supposed to look out of, and he's not looking out of it.
he's drunk. Remember that.
He's like me right now.
Oh,
Here we go.
Idiot faster. Great voice acting by Daniel Craig.
Yeah. I can't believe that they actually pulled this off. Like,
oh my god, I just got chills.
Just the way that the camera's moving.
Oh my!
I will say, I think the cinematography might be the most impressive part of this film.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god.
Oh, you know what? Pirates 5 took this straight out of their.
I was just saying this reminds me of the start of Pirates 5.
Yeah.
They straight up did.
Which is fine.
And look, we don't cut. We don't cut. We keep moving. Oh. And to the oh my god. Oh.
Just the way that it follows and flows for every part.
I do have to say that the motion blur does throw me off a little bit because it's evident. And I'm like, it works because you have to do it, but it definitely throws me off a little bit.
Oh my god!
Imagine
his throat out.
This could be a theme park ride. Fuck, you're right, PJ. I hate it when you're right.
I know you do. Every once in a while, I have my moments.
Oh my god!
There's been a couple of streams that are like, "Fuck, this is actually really good." I hate that the fact that it's so good.
Go, dude.
And it keeps going too.
That's the thing. Like it's one thing if you're doing it for like a minute or two, but this is ridiculously impressive.
Tintin literally gives no fucks. Geronimo. Oh my god. Also, the red of the car is really good because the rest of the colors are super pastel-like, and having a bright red car in the middle of the scene is really, really like just as smart.
Honestly, I haven't watched it in a while. This is unreal.
The amount of environments it goes to, the amount of things that they're doing in it, it's just so
stunning. Oh
yeah.
Look at this. Oh, he's on a zip line now.
He should definitely be dead by now. I just want to say that. Like, just so we all are aware. Also, I feel like I could hear this music in a Universal theme park.
Sure. I mean, how great is that sequence?
Oh my god, unreal.
It just, for me, it's maybe one of the all-time great action beats. Because there's just nothing like it.
Wait, is he just going to drop him in the water?
He's got Snowy. Oh no.
Yeah, he's got the dog.
But like,
I would do anything to Mike K. Real quick. I wanted to point this out, but I was so into the sequence. He said he sounds a little more like Taron Egerton than Radcliffe, but I can hear both. I don't know if you guys saw, but Taron Egerton's actually voicing Constantine in the Sandman audio drama that they're doing, and I'm beyond thrilled about that idea.
Here comes another highly impressive shot. Reflection in the bubble in the water.
Oh, fucking great.
So good. And we transition.
I wish Taron Egerton was like my older brother. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Building is just like in the tank, and it's so good.
The scream,
and then the bumbling idiots are on the balcony. Hi.
And I just love that one guy walks out and he's like, "Huh, so this happened," and now we are a 3-star hotel because we're beachfront.
Hilarious.
Oh, it's such a perfect little moment.
Nobody takes my ship twice. That's fucking great. You know, if there was a live action Tintin, I better see freaking Taron Egerton as the lead. That's all I have to say.
He's too old now.
You can make it an older Tintin. I don't know. I don't know the property.
Great actually is Will Poulter.
Oh, yeah. True.
Will Poulter would
be British, and he has like the similar like ginger look, pale skin, reddish hair.
I really should have saw Detroit, but I was so afraid to. Like that's one of the movies.
It's hard to watch.
I haven't seen Detroit yet either.
It's quite good, but it is it's you need a strong stomach. Like he's.
Sorry.
I was going to say Will Poulter is amazing in it, but it's one of those things where like you have to do such horrible things as an actor. I can't imagine the impact it must have on you.
He probably went to therapy. Like he's still probably in therapy.
Remember, he was this close to being Pennywise.
Yep.
Yeah, because he looks like fucking Bill Skarsgård.
Well, he had the role, and then he dropped out when
Carrie
Fukunaga dropped out.
That's fair.
One thing I'll say too about this movie, and I don't think because so much of it was motion capture, it feels like they really got the actors to be able to interact with each other, which really makes the almost buddy cop nature or like adventuring duo feel really work. Because there's sometimes when I watch an animated film that you know that they weren't necessarily in the room together and they don't really interact with the other people. And so they do a great job, but it almost feels like they were together and you can feel that.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the nice things about Rango too, is they basically filmed it all on a stage or rather recorded the voices. So they were all together.
Rango, a film that we were nearly going to do a watch along of.
Yeah.
Not to like take shots, but we're very close.
It was supposed to happen and then Netflix pulled it at the last minute.
Also, to my case point, I saw that and I never thought an audio drama could get me that hyped.
I know.
Something that actors should be doing right now, or writers, making fucking podcasts to do over audio. That you just have like actors interact with each other and do like some weird scripts that could only work in certain situations.
I mean,
I think this is a great acting exercise that they could be taking advantage of and profiting off of.
I'll say this. Doctor Who is like made an entire second life off of audio dramas.
They've been doing it for forever.
Yeah, like 20 years now, and it's given a bunch of the doctors a bunch of new stories that they didn't have, and it's really impressive. So I
think cheaper. It's so much cheaper.
Ivan, I'll have to send you a couple just so you can hear them. Like, it's very impressive.
There's some good audio drama podcasts. Like back in the day, I was a fan of Welcome to Night Vale.
Mm-hmm. There was a really good
murder mystery one, or like the
kind of. It went on for a long time and I sort of lost track, but it was really fun to listen to for a while.
Because I had some theater friends that were into it, so that makes sense. Theater nerds stick together, even when one's in Broadway and the others.
Fight sequence, by the way.
Big Wonder Woman vibes here, not gonna lie.
A little bit, yeah. And you get a very interesting sequence that you've never seen anything quite like before. Again, kind of the whole movie, but there's something about this third act sequence that I love a lot because it feels so different than almost anything I've ever seen before.
It reminds me a bit of...
It's very Spielberg-y.
Spielberg is always...
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Wait,
it feels Spielberg? I'm not sure.
Why does it feel Spielberg?
I don't know why that would be.
I'll also say, you know what? The Sherlock Holmes movies are a little bit pulpy too. Not quite, but the Downey Jr. ones have a little bit of pulp.
Yeah.
If you guys have ever seen the HBO series John Adams, I think the Sherlock movies and John Adams give off very similar vibes in their tone.
It's the best thing Tom Hooper's ever done.
I agree.
And also to that point, we were talking about
this is a great fight, by the way.
Yeah.
This is
to see the Steven Spielberg point. While he has a very direct, like what his tone.
But what I was gonna say real quick to this, the thing I like about this is it also feels like their histories of their families is coming full circle in a way, because when you see all those flashbacks, it's a sword fight, right? This is a massive sword fight with cranes.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, PJ, to your point about Steven Spielberg and making something feel new or whatever, that's kind of always been his case. While he has a very consistent tone within his own movies, every time he makes something, it feels like it's new. It feels like he's revolutionizing something, you know?
I agree,
so
man.
Like Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T., this film, Ready Player One, even. Whatever you think about the film, it's pushing some type of like new idea that he wants everyone to see.
Yep.
I agree completely.
Him and James Cameron and Zemeckis are all similar in that way.
They all have done it very well. I think Lucas is also that way, but Lucas always got caught up on the technological versus all-encompassing. I think that Spielberg and Zemeckis, and even Cameron to a point, have really tried to make it an all-encompassing thing, not just on the tech.
I mean, don't forget, Zemeckis, even with The Walk, which seems like a pretty straightforward drama, has some of the best IMAX 3D footage I've ever seen.
There's a lot of CGI in that movie, even before he walks out.
Oh, yeah, a ton.
a ton, and that movie's such a love letter to New York, which I love, number one. But I'll never forget seeing it in IMAX 3D and being blown away.
Have you guys seen the doc? I forget what it's called, but I saw the doc before. It's a very interesting
Man on a Wire.
Yeah, the doc is great.
Yeah, Man on the Wire. It is incredible. Very like riveting, especially in terms of who that person is.
If someone tried to do that now, they just get shot from the street with the
Yeah.
and that would be the end of it.
That feels like an AT-AT Walker falling down in Star Wars a little bit.
I'll be back.
About Star Wars, I'm watching Revenge of the Sith right now. There are a lot of Spielberg isms in it because he was there on set, and you could tell he was there.
The story goes, the big climactic Obi-Wan Anakin fight, he was instrumental in directing that scene.
Yep.
So.
I
haven't gotten there yet.
It's very
I've seen it,
obvious, to be honest.
Well, it's also obvious with Poltergeist, if you ask me.
I agree.
Well, Poltergeist is for free a Spielberg movie. That's all I have to say.
Tobe Hooper is the credited director, but the story, I mean, you ask anyone who was there that Spielberg was really leading the course on that.
Mike K said, what's interesting about Spielberg is how he spent a lot of his career in the 80s and 90s producing animated movies and TV shows that I'm surprised it's taken him this long to direct one himself. Yeah. I think he waited for the right project.
Animaniacs, didn't he do Tiny Toons as well?
Yes, he did. Pinky and the Brain.
Freakazoid?
Yeah, and then, of course, I mean, like, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, American Tail, Land Before Time. All of that was Steven Spielberg produced.
So he was working with Don Bluth.
Yeah.
Question, guys, am I the only one that likes the post, like, a lot? Like, I love it.
It's very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. Because I actually, like, when we went to Oscar season of that movie, I'm like, wait, this movie's actually great.
I think it was in my top 10 that year for sure.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone in this.
No, I'm the one person who likes The Terminal, though. So.
Oh, this is interesting. He was an executive producer on First Man.
I like The Terminal a lot.
Yeah, that movie's so underrated. I'll also say, like, outside of that, like, you look at his filmography and even the producing stuff and
just look at the way the wind is blowing his hair.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Very soft, very subtle.
But I was going to say, he also produced The Mask of Zorro. A lot of people don't realize that was a Steven Spielberg one as well. Amblin produced that, and he also produced the True Grit remake.
Oh, bro,
and
he
the Transformers movies.
Out while they're in water. That man is going to die.
Yeah, he did do those. So I'm never going to forget that.
Steven Spielberg has thrown his name on just a lot of stuff without being involved, though, to be fair.
You're executive produce something, you're not necessarily there in a creative capacity.
He was given the money for it.
The first
help
the others. I can guarantee that. Like you can feel it.
One of his proteges is Michael Bay.
Right.
Very much rose up through the Spielberg school, along with J.J. Abrams and a lot of those.
Yeah.
One episode, Evan, without Hamilton.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
You said Rise Up. We all know what it means.
Evan, Mike K says he loved the post. If I recall correctly, it made my top 10 of the year as well.
Michael K, I love you.
Hell of a year.
Joe movie is one of Spielberg's best that is so underrated. Bridge of Spies.
Yes.
Bridge of Spies is very good too. Mark Rylance is incredible in that movie. Yeah. I know everyone
Tom Hanks.
I know everyone wanted
best performances.
Stallone to win the Oscar that year, but Mark Rylance was really extraordinary.
I would have given it to Stallone, but just for kind of like a career Oscar that they kind of give out. But Rylance is kind of undeniable in that movie.
Yeah, but
Tom Hanks should have been nominated for Best Actor.
The Post was my 7th favorite of that movie, but that's also a year where like The Florida Project came out, Phantom Thread came out.
That was
Get Out,
Shape of Water.
Incredible year in film.
Dunkirk.
Coco,
Lady Bird,
Paddington 2.
Paddington 2,
Paddington 2,
bona fide masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Bona fide masterpiece.
Hugh Grant has a Stephen Sondheim musical number
should have
in
had
that movie.
For that movie, as far as I'm concerned.
Brendan Gleeson should have had a nomination in that movie.
Film, I finally thought of one. I don't know why it took me this long. National Treasure.
Oh, totally. Yes, absolutely.
I've done it. It took me all stream.
Also,
but here we are.
You got to have to look back at this. It literally comes back.
That dog is drinking paint. That's
Yes.
why he's the way he is.
This is the way.
This is the third movie we've watched where the journey, the adventure ends where it begins.
Yeah.
You just needed the final clue. There was Onward, National Treasure, and now this.
Pretty much.
Brothers Bloom almost.
Kinda.
Almost.
Not really.
Keyword almost.
Not really. Like at all.
Hogue? I can have my opinions.
But they can be objectively wrong, and I have stat sheets, Evan. Come at me, bro.
Stat sheets, man.
There's something about the adventure of it all to bring it back home, and it just makes me smile.
Another dog. Oh, wait.
Guys, I have seen so much on lately because of quarantine. I'm proud of myself, but it's also quite frightening that I've watched many movies lately.
This reveal is so great. I love the lighting of the scene. I think it's just so beautiful. It almost looks like a very live action film, I think is so cool. The Eagle of Patmos. He is the eagle.
All right, to keep the commentary going, yeah, guys, I'm kind of checked out of this movie. I got to be honest. I'm trying to stay engaged, but it's not working for me.
Wait, guys. Sorry, Pat, not to cut you off, but shout out to Chris Clark, all of a sudden just dropping the 4 graphic on.
I was like, why does it look better?
Never. Thank you, Chris.
It feels like Steven Spielberg works like War Horse came out the same year, and it feels like that movie I feel like has a much worse script than this film does, but is limited by the pace of what a live action film allows Steven Spielberg to give it more of an emotional depth. This one just feels like it's moving so fast that I just can't connect to it.
Weren't you just earlier in saying how slow it was moving compared to the script?
It's not the right pace for me.
It's not the right. Oh, I'm sorry.
Max, why do you sound like a Reddit thread right now? Come on, you're better than that, kid.
But, okay, Pat, I'm not trying to take shots at you or anything like that.
But you're about to punch me in the face. What do you?
No, I think what has happened here. Remember, I have never seen this movie, and I do a really good job, personally speaking, of like not going in with any expectations. I think because these two suckers here hyped it up a lot, which fair enough. This movie is a lot of fun, like a lot of fun. I think you and your expectations made it something that it wasn't.
I had no expectations going in. I really was just ready to see this film again, and it is purely personal preference. I totally get why this film works for people. It just feels a bit too much on a different page than what I appreciate. This is not the kind of film that gels with me in a lot of ways.
I'm really scared to have a pulp month with you then, because I feel like this is going to be a problem for you.
But I feel like Joe Johnston, there are other directors that get this really right.
Spielberg's got it right like his whole career.
Yeah, I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love Last Crusade. I love Temple of Doom. I kind of really like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, this is so much better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I disagree.
You're on crack cocaine, but that makes sense because
I wish.
LA.
I just love that.
Streamlabs.com/the PJ Campbell Network /Chip. Chris Clark coming in through, putting up those banners. Chris Clark, can you please read the private chat for me, please? I would thoroughly appreciate that.
So that, for me, is one of the most underappreciated films of the 2000s, easily. And I just love it so, so much. So I'm glad that we got to sit down with it. Or 2010s, I guess, theoretically. But, you know, we've heard from Hogue. Max, we watched it together. Are you as delighted as I am that we went on this adventure?
I sure am. I hadn't watched it in a little while, and I think it's pretty terrific. I think both as a technical exercise and as just a rousing, fun adventure with likable characters, a great score, like incredible action sequences, especially that one. It just works on all levels as a great pulp adventure. And like I said, I do think it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I wouldn't put it necessarily in my top 5 to 7 Spielberg movies, but I think it's underappreciated and really, really fun. I think the pacing is on point. I think the tone is perfect for the type of movie it is. It's old-fashioned while still keeping a nice pace with the adventure. The transitions are gorgeous. I think I love it.
Yeah, I just get so caught up in the whimsy and the adventure of it all because we just don't. Just doing the adventure film, we get so caught up in needing things to be these like grand cinematic universes and things now, and sometimes just doing the pulp story is enough for me, and that's why I've always liked this movie so much, because I think it's a lost art, and that's what always made it work for me.
Did you say lost art or lost arc? Because both would be valid.
Both are valid. That is correct. Lost art specifically, but definitely lost arc as well. But Evan, for your first time, did you
wait, go to Hogue first, because I'm gonna like.
We've heard enough from Hogue.
Go to Hogue.
We've heard enough from Hogue.
Wait, go to Hogue.
Fine. Hi, Hogue.
I really like this film. I like it a lot. It's just, to me, this is lower tier Spielberg in a way that he has done this exact story, but I think a lot better. I think it's a lot of fun. The animation is undeniable. It's gorgeous. It feels kind of just sensory overload in a way that is just kind of unappreciable for myself, in that I just wanted to slow down, take a second so I can get to know who these people are. Their characterizations, they're big over the top. I agree with you, Max. The tone is pitch perfect. This feels like a pulp adventure, but it feels like it's a pulp adventure that's on speed and is constantly moving, whereas they get to the end and they find this globe full of treasure. I'm like, I guess that was the end goal, but like, is that what other of these characters need as characters? Like, what is the next adventure of them? To find another globe full of treasure? It just doesn't get me excited for these characters going forward. And I just kind of feel exhausted by the end of this movie.
I think the thing about it is, it wasn't the treasure that got them so excited. It was the map on another adventure. They thrive on the adventure and the quest.
I get it.
What are your thoughts on Ready Player One?
I thought it was fun. But again, it was a little bit too much sensory overload for me. I
just wanted to ask because I feel like that one is far more sensory overload than this.
But that one at least has a central character that has a beginning, middle, and end, where it feels like we kind of start in the middle with this one. My critiques being what they are, it's an achievement. It really is. I would have loved to see what other creatives would have done with this story. And this story being what it is, I think Steven Spielberg directed the hell out of this movie. I'm not saying he did a poor job in doing his job. I just don't know if he was the best person to do it. So
I can see where you're coming from. I don't know if I agree, because I think it's just so pitch perfectly what I was hoping it would be, but I respect where you're coming from. Evan.
All right, a couple of things. Michael K., are you in the chat? Yes or no? Please let me know. This is very
Evan,
important.
Don't rely on Michael K. He'll always let you down.
Oh shit! Okay,
calling him out.
You're on a tear. And that's the point I was making up earlier to Michael K's point. It's very reminiscent of the classic DuckTales animated series in terms of the thrill and adventure, even to the new one. I think like to Pat's point, you could argue that's what Scrooge McDuck is, outside of just wanting to be rich. He just loves the idea of adventure and wants to get fucking out there. But I will say a couple of things. This reminds me of like Clone Wars Season 7 is immaculate. We can all agree to this, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think what Pat's point is, not these aren't his words, these are my words, just trying to like convey what he's saying. This feels like Clone Wars Season 1 and 2, where we enjoy the Star Wars story and we enjoy the adventures that were going on, but we don't feel the character ideas and the character build up and the motives behind them. Yet in seasons 3, 5, 7, you feel all that emotion behind there and why they're doing what they're doing, and we're missing out on that. But I think that separates us as viewers, and that's okay. We've all lived through different experiences, and we want different things out of our art. So personally, for me speaking, my Letterboxd review of this movie, to pull it up, was here we go.
We are not sponsored by Letterboxd. I don't want to give any impression that we're getting any money from Letterboxd. Nobody thinks that.
My review was, this is a lot of fun. Thanks for showing this to me, Pat Hogue. So again, I hope I had a lot of fun with it. I do think that like a little bit of the character emotion and the reasoning behind the characters doing what they want to do gets lost a little bit. That doesn't take away from like how much fun it was. Like you could argue the same shit for Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and also Fallout. Like a lot of sometimes you could argue their character motivation gets lost, but that's not what the films are about. That's not what they're presenting to us on screen.
It's not trying to be
right.
But
those films have slow scenes. This film doesn't.
Not really, barely. But you could argue what's happening next month is what this director
King of segues.
We're doing Brad Bird month, guys. I somehow convinced PJ to do it.
Yeah,
June 1st, we're doing The Iron Giant, which is an amazing film. June 8th, The Incredibles. The 15th, fucking Ratatouille. And if you know anything about Ratatouille, you know it's like one of the best movies of all time. And then the 22nd, Incredibles 2. PJ,
but very specifically, this is Brad Bird animation, right?
Well, yes, with a caveat, because the very last Monday of the month, we're actually going to change it up. It is going to be one of his live action films because there's actually 5 Mondays in June. So we are going to be doing Tomorrowland, which is going to be a little bit different because, you know, we could do Mission Impossible, but I think there's going to be more to talk about with Tomorrowland because I think it's a very different movie. Mission Impossible. We can talk about Mission Impossible at any time, you know, whereas Tomorrowland, like, I'd like to shine some light on it, but you know, how did it happen? You know, it really came down to, I kind of like when we have everything mapped out ahead of time. It just makes me feel better. And so
and to mine and PJ's discredit, we have been putting off trying to figure out the animated movies because we normally just go to Disney Plus and we pick one out at random.
Not out of any, like, we would theme it. We were kind of doing like TV stuff and like we were finding the right things, but I think that there was something to be said about, I was really enjoying the Rian Johnson month. You kept harping on about the Brad Bird thing, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it. Like, I like. You could argue great movies.
You could argue outside of Incredibles 2, and I love that movie to death. They are very similar directors where they pick properties they are super passionate about. It is something that they care really deeply, and you could tell their name and their brand of directing is all over it.
Yeah. So I want to ask you two what you guys are. How are you feeling about the potential of a Brad Bird month?
I think there is a lot to talk about Brad Bird because all of his movies, I agree, have that Brad Bird touch onto them, but they all have kind of different origin stories in terms of like how they came to be. And especially like look at it, Ratatouille was not started as a Brad Bird. The Two Incredibles, like both were made in different vacuums. And you look at Iron Giant, like that came from an impassioned young, like a creative energy who said no to every Disney executive that came to him and waited until Warner Brothers came to him with a check to say, we'll make whatever movie you want. Like there was a different energy going to every single one of these films that I think will create a vastly different kind of story behind talking about them. Brad Bird is a fascinating director, and to be able to talk about him would be great.
Max?
Yeah, he's made some good movies.
Perfect.
And in all fairness to everyone, just as like a big disclaimer, it's my favorite director. That's not expected. I love Ratatouille. Ratatouille is my favorite movie of all time. The Incredibles is right up there. I love The Iron Giant, believe it or not. I had actually had the chance because FSU played it in their theater to see it in theaters for the first time, and that, the emotions came through. And I love The Incredibles too. I love Tomorrowland. So I'm really excited just to be able to talk about all these stories that came with these movies and like what these movies represented, especially with me as a film viewer, you know, kind of my film viewing experience and how I've become the immature film viewer I am today.
Incredibles 2 is a movie that I am aching to talk about because I don't like it. I don't really like it. And I'm so curious to really talk about that film because I think it has a lot of fascinating ideas.
You know what's funny about that, Pat? Not to like before we move on, it is a very generational thing. Everyone who is my age loves that movie to death. I have not spoken to someone who is my age and does not love that movie.
Okay, boomer. Max, what did you have to say?
I said if tonight was any indication, I'm not looking forward to that.
Max, we've been on such good terms. Don't let one TinTin lower your perception of me, please.
All right. Well, go ahead and get out of here. So starting with Hogue, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me at Hogue_filmmaker on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my short films. I'm a director. I make content on my Vimeo page at Patrick Hogue, and you can find my latest short film, SEW, at Crypt TV. They're a big horror YouTube channel. It's one of their featured creature-like short films. So check out the film. That's where you can find me, and I'll be here talking about more movies on the PJ Campbell Network and creating more conversations for people to have perfectly calm and not at all upset reactions to. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Have a great night, Hogue. All right, and Maxwell, where can everyone find you?
You can. That was weird for a second there. With the
no, I fixed it. You're good.
You can find me on Twitter at Cinemaxwell, Instagram at Cinemaxwell Inc. You can check out my blog, maxwellsremarks.blogspot.com. You can also see me here Thursday night, where PJ and I will be hosting our brand new show, Front Row Mezzanine, with our very special guest, Preston Max Allen, composer and writer of We Are the Tigers and many other plays and musicals. And you can also find me in the desert with Tintin, going on adventures, because I love it.
I'll be there with you. All right. We'll see you soon, my friend. All right, Evan, real quick, take us through what's going on again coming up this week, and let's get out of here.
All right. Here we go, mate. So we have on Tuesday, I'm interviewing Jonathan Youngblood, community leader. Michael K is probably going to share all these links everywhere, which I thoroughly appreciate because I know he himself is very good friends with Jonathan. Very excited for this interview. I can keep talking about it, but I'll be tweeting out the link sometime in the morning after I wake up. Could be like 2 o'clock EST. Who the hell knows? And then Wednesday, Chris Clock, Singing in the Rain. It's dropping. Him, Kristen Smith, R&B, great ass musical. They're going to be talking about it, so make sure you guys there to watch it live. Thursday, Front Center Menazine. You guys have talked about this already, so if you guys aren't there, I'm gonna have to kill you. And then Friday, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, the watch along. You and I, we're going to talk about it with Jacob and Taylor from Finally Tailored, as well as Pat Hogue. I know he likes Ryan Johnson a lot. He doesn't just stop talking about this guy. And Frank Janisch, I know, is going to be on. And we have a special guest that we're going to confirm afterwards, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be on with us.
It's already confirmed.
Did you confirmed it?
Yep.
Can I say it?
I'll say it.
God damn it.
Well, look, I was the one who booked it. It was
Who is
our friend Abby Friel. Abby Friel is going to be on the stream with us talking The Last Jedi.
Imagine that. So make sure you guys are there for that. It's going to be really exciting. And yes, I will be in the comments moderating your asses, making sure you guys don't say some dumb shit science. And then on Saturday, we're doing family game night. I think we have an idea. I can't spill the beans yet because we're still producing behind the scenes. So make sure you guys are there to check that out. Sunday, there may or may not be a PJ Campbell show. Depends on alcohol I've had to drink. And then Monday, Atlantis, The Lost Empire, The Watch Along. Make sure you guys are there for that. And then last but not least, the announcement, the big boy. This is the reason that Evan is on stream. This is the sole reason I've made it onto the PJ Campbell Network. Brad fucking Bird Month. If you guys aren't there, be square. And that includes Tomorrowland, which that movie is great, and we will get into that another day. But for that, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Evan Degraff Live. Only 3 people are watching this, but I think that might have been one of my best outros yet. So catch me there on Twitter. I've been tweeting and I've been getting a lot of clicks. So I'll see you soon, folks.
All right, guys. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at PJ_Campbell. Of course, you can find me here at the PJ Campbell Network, where we hang out. We do all sorts of stuff. I love these usual gang of idiots. Mad Magazine no longer exists, so I'm going to go ahead and coin that phrase for our channel instead. And I'm just really happy that you guys were here. Thank you guys again for hanging out and really being here and on the channel with us a lot lately. Like, we really appreciate it. So we will see you guys here tomorrow, Monday, Friday, doesn't matter when. We're always here, 7 p.m. We love seeing you guys. We'll see you soon, all right? Have a great day, everyone.
I want to be so long. Farewell to you, my friend. Goodbye for now. Until we meet again. I said so long. Farewell to you, my friend. Goodbye for now. Until we meet again. Oh, it's been great to play and sing together in the box, and now it's time to say goodbye. Ooh, so long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye, oh, for now, until we meet again. Goodbye, for now, until we meet again.